Greetings, and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this program has been brought to you thanks to the generous contributions of our patrons on Patreon. Your patronage is greatly appreciated. And for more content like this, be sure to check out the Modern Alchemist channel on Patreon. Let's begin. Welcome. This is the Saturn Key, a special series of short classes designed to help students who consider themselves more advanced along the way within the realm of their esoteric studies. The idea here with the Saturn Key is that each class is designed to help you gain access to the Akashic Record. And we're going to explore it from a number of different angles. The first class is going to be this one right here, where we're talking about activating and fine-tuning the third eye. If you've not watched my Alchemy After Hours on the third eye, you should pause this video right now and go check that one out. If you're a little fuzzy on it, you should probably go check it out as well, because I'm going to rely on the fact that you already understand and know what I talked about, so that I don't have to talk about it again here and I don't have to make a 5-hour video or something, because I'm constantly in review. This series here is not to be a review. It's designed to just be one more step forward, one more handhold on your free climb up the mountain. Okay? So with that said, let's begin our discussion on activating and fine-tuning the third eye. As you will recall, in the Alchemy After Hours, I spoke that the third eye is not the pineal gland, which is a component of the endocrine system. The third eye is, in fact, the amygdala, which is a component of the limbic system, which is where all the cognitive processes of the brain are largely held. All of your emotions, the accumulation of short-term to long-term memory, accessing that memory, the feelings about those memories, all the thinking goes on there. And so it's really helpful to understand the difference between the endocrine system, which is managing a bunch of functions in the body, which can influence your emotional states, and the limbic system, which is actually dealing with those emotional states, like it's processing, creating them, functioning upon them, driving them, cataloging them, remembering them. That's what the limbic system is. It's your cognitive structure there. So all of it plays a role in cognition, certainly, but in terms of the acquisition of cognitive function, the limbic system is where I believe you should probably spend your time thinking. So with that said, let's talk about the location of the amygdala. If you could point at it, how would you do it? Well, we intuitively point at it all the time when we're like, oh, I'm going to think about a thing, or I'm going to use my psychic powers, like in the movies. You're always putting your fingers to your temple, right here, right? And if you could draw a little, like shoot yourself in the head with a little arrow and it would go straight through, and then draw a line from the middle of your eyebrows straight back, you get really close to right where that amygdala is located. Now it's interesting because right to the side here, this is what's called the temple. And I want to talk about that for just a moment. The temple is actually, and I'm going to read from my notes here because I want to make sure I get this completely accurate. The temple is a joining of 4 bones, okay, in the skull, very much like the 4 corners of the United States, where it's 4 states and they're all joined together in one point. Well, this is a joining of the frontal, the parietal, the temporal, and the sphenoid bone. And they meet right here in a location called the pterion, which in Greek it means wing. So if you think of pictures of the Greek god Hermes, and he has wings coming up from his helmet, the helmet's right here at his temple. And so the wings are representative of consciousness that is quick, consciousness that can go everywhere because birds can fly everywhere, consciousness which has the supreme viewpoint because it is up high as opposed to down low, right? So the idea then is the pterion, the wings are right here. This bone area is super duper thin. So thin, in fact, that tribes, Pacific tribes, had developed a small mallet or cudgel where they could strike someone right in the temple and just knock them dead right there, because there's an artery right behind the temple known as the meningeal artery. And this artery can be lacerated by those thin bones which construct the temple right where it joins here. Well, all of that structure, that thinness of the bone, which allows access to the outside, the artery, which allows access to all of your consciousness at all times, because as I've spoken of in other classes, if you were to take a physical component of your body and say, what would represent all of me in one instant, it would always be your blood. And you can check out my other videos on that. I'll see if I can't update some of those concepts. The idea relates to blood, sweat, and tears. In fact, you know what? We're going to update that. Just put a pin in that, and we're going to Saturn Key that one, because it's a good one. So that then is in contact, in proximity then to where the amygdala is located, and to me, it allows for you to acquire a kind of cognitive resonance within that structure of your body, because you know what it does, you know where it's located, and you know how it's fed, and you know how it's used. So let's experiment with your amygdala. And what we're going to do now is what I call hearing the music without sound. So you ever watch like those TV shows, or a commercial will come up and it will have this insufferable jingle that will sit in your head and play forever. It'll just go. Or there's that pop song, maybe one by Keisha, and it just sticks with you, and you're like, no, and it won't stop. Okay, that is an involuntary application of the amygdala in accessing the record. Because that sound that you're hearing right now, even as we're talking about it, I know that it is evoking within you sound in your mind, where you can hear that song just momentarily come up and you go, oh yeah, I know that one. And then there it is. I hope I don't infect you with that song too bad. Some people are like, don't remind me of the song I don't want to think about. They're thinking about it again. It's terrible how that works. Well, all of that is a structure of, or a component of the structure of the application of accessing the Akashic record. Because that sound is never lost. The memory of the music is never lost. It's always there. You just have to be able to tune into it. And that's exactly what you do. So, this is the exercise. Now that you know what the end goal is, which is to hear something, I want you to pick a piece of music. And usually it's better if it's a piece of music that is complex, a piece of music that is multiphonic. So classical music is always really good for me. I particularly like Mozart or Bach. Any music that has layering within it, multiple layers of sound, is always beneficial, because then it allows you in the process of this meditation to focus on that music, and then focus on the memory of the sound of that music within you. So step one, pick a piece of music. I highly recommend that you pick a good classical source, just because the complexity of the music, the multitonal, multiphonics are there, although a lot of modern music can be really good. Look, ELO is awesome for that. They definitely understand multiphonics, as well as Queen can be said to understand that. So you could use anything modern like that as well. Or even more, I don't know, but those are two that came to mind. Like Mr. Blue Sky is a really good one for listening to it, because you can follow the train. They design the music so that it can be heard without hearing it. So find your music, sit down, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to focus on raising your attention to the height of your eyebrows. So when your eyes are closed, and I want you to realize that the opening of the third eye is not like, you're not going to get little binoculars or anything like that, right? This is an access point of consciousness. So it can be kinesthetic, meaning that the experience can be a blending of more than one sense at one time. What I'm trying to teach you to do is to lock in on a singular sense, that of sound, and actualize just that. It's important because you have to have control over this, otherwise it can occupy your attention like those crazy jingles when you don't want it to. Think of your amygdala sort of like little antennae, but they're like the more modern antenna that you see inside your cell phone that's inside of the component as opposed to outside. It's still just as effective, it's just now housed inside of the electronics. Well, your antenna, the amygdala and the little hippocampus there, that's your connection point to everything. Just try to visualize that. If it sounds crazy, fine, it's crazy, but it works for me, and this is where I always take a page from Scripture and say, it is only those who have the heart of children that can enter into the kingdom, because you're willing to take the risk of being silly and imagine silly things in order to find something that is true. All right, so close your eyes, and as you do, allow your attention to rise so that it's at the height of your eyebrows, maybe just a little bit above that. Then listen to the music. Listen to it from start to finish, and listen to it with your eyes closed. I want you to focus solely on the sound. If you need to listen to it twice or 3 times to just really get it with you, then go ahead, because most of these are anywhere between 3 and 5, 6 minutes, right? If Queen's song could be 7 minutes, Bohemian Rhapsody if you want to go there. So, but let that music then be the boundary limit of your meditation, okay? So I'm going to start it, I'm going to finish it, and I'm going to listen to that and focus entirely on the nuance, the texture, the feel. You need to get an emotional resonance with this song. It has to do something like make you feel good. It has to elevate you, inspire you, give you a sense of wonder, a sense of imagination, a sense of drive. That's what you want, okay? And you want to do that. You want the music to have an emotional component to it, which is why I picked music first, because a lot of people, the song can be everything. There are songs for, this is the song they played when we first met. Like that kind of impact is what music can do for you. So listen to the song, let it give you, let it have its impact, let it wash over you. And then when you're done, have complete silence, maybe for 60 seconds, just sit there. And just absorb the silence of your room with your eyes closed. If there are little buzzing noises or the wind is creaking outside, allow that to exist within your silence. Appreciate it and then let it go. If a car drives by, appreciate the sound of the Doppler effect and then let that go. Allow things to pass through you and then call the song back. Hear the song again. In the silence of your mind, in the silence of your room, hear it from start to finish. Listen to its texture, its essence, its nuance, its flavor, its tone. Feel what it made you feel when you heard it the last time, a moment ago. Enjoy the sensation and ride that from top to bottom, from end to end, from start to finish, all the way to its conclusion. And if the song repeats itself, let's say that you don't remember, don't bind up. Just let it do it again. Just let that verse repeat itself and go with it. And then guide yourself towards its conclusion, because you'll remember how the song will end. And guide yourself to that. And rest upon its conclusion, and then maybe start the song a second time. And as you do, I want you to contemplate this. Where's that sound coming from? It's there. It's as much there as the sound reverberating off your eardrums and being processed by your mind and interpreted as my voice, as the music, as sound. But when it's silent, Where does it come from? It comes from the record. By listening to that song, you have cracked the slightest opening between the doors of the Akashic record and are getting a glimpse at its potential. Because its potential, with proper application, can be perfect recollection of anything, any event, any song, any movie. I'm going to warn you, it makes rewatching certain things difficult because you will have absorbed, processed, and remembered virtually everything as it happens the first time, so that you can catalog it and recall it later to your advantage. You're going to find that by doing this simple exercise every day for 10, 15 minutes tops, you don't need much, just 10 or 15 minutes. You can literally do this in the bathroom, because you don't have to replay your song for yourself every time. After a while, you'll have a certain piece, a certain set piece for this meditation that you'll go back to. And it'll comfort you. Mozart's Requiem Mass is definitely one for me that I like to return to because of the complexity of the song, and the complexity of each of the set pieces, because it's one to the next, to the next, to the next, right? So the Lacrimosa is different than the Confitatis. So, it's those kind of things are for me what give me joy, because you know that every conversation can be called back, every experience, everything that you witness, but it starts first by understanding how to access it, by understanding that it is a discipline, that it'll take a little bit of time, and it'll take patience, and it'll definitely take dedication, because you can't settle for half. You can't. It has to be all. It has to be everything. You have to let it all happen. You have to accept it all, and you have to be able to process it all, meaning to allow yourself to hear the song. That's the first component of the Saturn Key, learning to hear the song by opening the Akashic record with something as simple as music. All right. I hope that you're as excited about this concept as I am, and that this is going to open up huge, huge warehouses of opportunity for you cognitively. Because what this, by extension, will do as you experiment with it, as you experiment later with other senses, as you experiment with sight, let's say, or you experiment with touch, or the sense of smell, and you see where that takes you cognitively, because each one of those, now the sense of smell is unique, because the olfactory bulb is nestled right up there, and a lot of neurologists argue that it may well be considered a component of the limbic system, because it's right in there, like it's right in part of the prefrontal cortex. So, and because of the fact that the sense of smell has such a powerful component to it in terms of being able to allow you to recall a thing, and to recall that thing in its entirety. And we can talk about that more, but the Egyptians definitely felt the sense of smell was important. They weighed 1/2 of the eye of Horus into the sense of smell. That's a lot. So experiment with this idea. Allow yourself to hear the music and realize that you can call upon this at any time. It doesn't have to be quiet. You can be in the middle of a crowd and be running that song in your head and listening to it and drawing strength from it, or encouragement, or excitement, or elevate your mood. This is one of the things I do all the time to just secure myself against rhythm by polarizing my mind in such a way so that I'm able to just enjoy being there instead of having to constantly go through this whole, thing all the time. And being there is a component of this. All right, I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this has been the Saturn Key. And our first class has been activating and fine-tuning the third eye by hearing the song within. I'll be talking to you soon.